Kadosh Boker Or, Shavua Tov, Masechet Nazir Daf Amud Aleph 27a1. Says the Gemara, Elmaleh Rav Papa. Rav Papa comes and he says to Rishimi Barashi, V'li tamech, and according to your reasoning, that the halacha is that stumin was only going to be not only for money, but also for other things which cannot be sold immediately, like for example, behemot and ofot. You remember we were talking about the difference between satum and mefurash. Satum means that you have the money which is going to be segregated for something, but not explicit. Satum means this money is going to be for certain korbanot, but you didn't say that this is for the korban olah, the burnt offering, or the shlamim. Did
you say obligations?
Right?
Obligation?
Yeah, even if it's an obligation, but you didn't designate which korban. Yeah. Mefurash means explicit. So therefore, there's a difference between satum and mefurash. So we made a difference between money and animals. Okay, that we said that it only applies to the money. Haditz, now we learned in the Mishnah. There's a Mishnah later on, Menhei Amud Aleph 45a1. It says, Rabban Shimon Gamliel Omer, Rabban Shimon Gamliel says, Hevi shalosh behemot. If you brought 3 animals, okay? If you brought 3 animals, velo piresh. Now you did not come and explicitly say which one was going to be for the chatat, the olah, and the shlamim. Okay, the burnt. Remember that in a zid, he has to bring three offerings. He has to bring a burnt offering, a sin offering, and a shlamim. This is a peace offering. Okay, there are 3 animals that a person has to bring when he's a nazir. Velo piresh. He did not explicitly explain which one was which. Now he brought 3 animals: a kivsa, keves, and an ayin, which is like the female of a keves, of a sheep, right? The male and a ram. Okay, so he brought the 3 different animals, but he didn't explicitly say which one's which one. Obviously, the one which is fitting for a chatat, which is the kivsa, right, the female, you can bring as a chatat. Le'olah, which is going to be the male, tikarev le'olah. L'shlamim, for the shlamim, tikarev l'shlamim. So says the Gemara, amai, why? Why do we say that we're going to bring these animals like this? Which means like this. According to us, we just said that an animal, we don't pay attention to the animal. And therefore, since we don't pay attention to the animals, it's like considered that it's not mefureshet. It's like considered, that's what we said over here, behema stam is like stuma, not like mefureshet. So therefore, since it's stuma, how do we bring it as a chatat or an olah or shlamim? We don't bring it stuma, that it's satum. Right? That means we don't know which one it is. So he says, one second, we don't bring the animals which kedusha mefureshet for whichever korban that it is. So therefore, you have to say that halacha stumin is only going to be by ma'ot and not by animals, and a behema is like mefureshet. Therefore, it could be brought, right? So what it's going to be raui. Okay, so that's the question. So one more time, here you brought the 3 animals. You didn't say which one's for which, but each one was specifically for that one, meaning you cannot bring the olah from a female. So therefore, obviously, when you had the female there, which is the kisba, it was for the chatat, right? You cannot, meaning each korban has the animals which you could bring. So therefore, each one was according to that korban.
There's no 2 that could be mixed up.
Oh. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh, so Rav Shimi Barashi comes and he tells Rav Papa, Hatam, over there, right, when you're talking about this case, it says, V'lakach ve'asa. Right, Amar Rachmana. What does that mean? The Torah said also velakach, and the Torah said also ve'asa, meaning velakach, who takes? The owners. Who's ve'asa? The Kohen. So from here, right, they come and they learn ibelekichat be'alim or ibasiyat Kohen, which means that they learn that when we're talking about the kinim, how does a ken become a ken mefureshet? You remember we spoke about this last time. How does the birds become something
either the guy specifies
either the owner, but when does the owner specify it?
Before he dies.
No, at the time of purchase. Lekichat be'alim. When the owner purchases it, that's when he has to specify. If he doesn't specify there, it's too late. Or basiyat kohen. The kohen is the one that specifies it. Meaning the kohen says, this bird is for an olah, and this bird is going to be for a chatat. So he says, I belekichat be'alim, or I basiyat kohen. Okay? Because remember that the birds are the same thing here, right? And each one could be a chatat and each one could be an olah, obviously. So here he comes and he says, Hacha, but here to do with the Nazir, where you brought 3 animals, you don't have that question. So you can't come and bring a proof that anybody that's going to be Magdisha Be'ema Stam, it's like Mefureshet, right? Because at the end of the day, it's specifically going to be a Tam Yuchad, but that the Be'emot are considered Mefurashot, right? Why? Mimatzit Amrat, Kavzayin Mubet, 27b. Mimatzit Amrat, Haden de Chatati Karev Ola. Can you actually come and say that this kivsa of a chatat is not a chatat, and it's going to bring brought as an ola? Hacha nekeva vehacha zachar. Here it's a nekeva, and here it's a zachar, which means kurban chatat can only be a nekeva, right? Chatat is a sin offering, right? Okay, so that's what we just mentioned until now. A chatat is only a female. Chatat, sin offering, only a female. But here we're talking about an olah. The korban olah can only be a male. Meaning the process of elimination is very simple. If I have 2 animals and I only have to bring an olah and a chatat, and I brought a male and a female, right? You already know that the male is going to be the olah, right? And the female is going to be the chatat. You already know that. Right? You cannot come and say it's the opposite way around, right? So he comes and he says, now we do know that the keves is going to be the for the olah, and the so that means the only thing that might be is the olah and the shlamim, okay, the peace offering and the olah. So now, even though you didn't actually come and say which one is which, okay, so but it's still going to be mefurashot. So he says, but you can't come and bring a proof, right, to the magdish a be'emah that it's not going to be for a certain one, and really we're going to say, right, that really be'emet, even if you're going to be Magdisha be'emas stam, it's considered stumin. So therefore, you have no other choice. So what do you want in this case, right? You know that a male is automatically an olah, female a chatat. So that's it. It's not that difficult to know what you're bringing. So Mativ Rav Amnuna is going to come and he's going to ask the following question: Umi amrinan do we say be'emat ba'alat mum kistuma damya? What about a behema that has a mum, has a blemish? So if it has a blemish, are you going to tell me now that it's considered like maut stumim? Tashema, let's see. We're going to bring a braita. The braita says, Keitzad amru aish megaleach al nazirut aviv. How could it be that a nazir can bring his korbanot at the end of the nazirut, when he's cutting his hair and everything, from money that the father separated, right, for his own korbanot? And you have a father and a son, they both became Nazirim. The father comes and he separates money, right, for his own korbanot. And now, how do we say that the son, when he finishes his Nazirut and he's going to cut off his hair and all these things, how can we say that he could use that money, right, that was really his father's, for his own korbanot? So, Bizman Shaya Aviv Nazir. So, we're talking about that the father was a Nazir. Vifrish Aviv Ma'ot Naziruto. He separated Ma'ot, money, for his own Nazirut. Umet. Now the guy dies. The father dies. So the father made himself into a Nazir. He separates money and he dies. Yeah? Now the son says, Hareni Nazir al menat shagaleach al mot abba. The son comes and he says, you know what? I'm going to be a Nazir on one condition. That he's going to come and take the money of the father, right, that he just had for the Nazirut, and he's going to use it. Okay? Now, there's halakha Moshe Sinai here, that you're allowed to do it from the money which was separated from the father. Okay, now again, the Gemara did not bring the entire braita and all these things, but it does say that if they were both Nazirim and then the father came and he separated the money and then he died, and the son says this, right? Right, it goes to a nedava, because since he was already a Nazir, he was already chayav in his own korbanot, so he cannot use the korbanot of his father for himself. Meaning, if he was never actively a Nazir, so then yes, he could do that. But if right now, if he was already a Nazir, he can't say, I'm using my father's money. He can't do that. Okay? So now he comes and he says, right, as follows. Right? He comes and he says, Hayulo maot stumot. Imagine a person has maot stumot. What does that mean? Money. Right? Doesn't. So what happens? Yiplul indava. It's going to go for a nedava. Okay? If you already had an animal which was segregated, chatat tamut, the chatat dies. Why does the chatat die? Because remember, chatat shemetu be'alea, right? He usually has to die because you don't bring a sin offering after death. So therefore, if right now, right, so the chatat has to die, the olah could be brought as an olah, and the shlamim is shlamim. So says the Gemara, my love, we're not talking about, when we're talking about be'ema mufreshet here, is a filu ba'alat mum. So therefore, you see from here that even if you separated an animal, which is a ba'alat mum, it's still considered ma'ot mefurashim, and not like ma'ot stumim, right? That they come and they actually redeem it. So answers the Gemara, no, it cannot. No, we're not talking about ba'alat mum. Ba'alat mum we're not talking about. Tamima. What is tamima? A regular animal, an animal that you could be brought as a korban. And therefore, we're going to say that it's like amounts to me. So says the Gemara, ba'alat mum. But what about a ba'alat mum? He's stuma damyatz. I consider like money which is stuma, which means it's going to go to a nedava. So ma'idi amount. So why do we speak about ma'ot? We only spoke about the only case which goes to a nedava is ma'ot stumim. Why don't we speak about also ba'alat mum? Ba'alat mum has the exact same halachic criteria, right, as the ma'ot stumim. So why don't we say the same thing? So says the Gemara, Achinam, you're right. Ba'alat mum lemay kadisha. He says, what is a ba'alat mum used for? For the money. You cannot bring a ba'alat mum. Ba'alat mum means it has a blemish.
No question now.
So therefore, the ba'alat mum is the exact same thing as money. No, but it's an animal. Well, yes, it's an animal, but I cannot bring that animal. So that means ba'alat mum equals money. Because if you're consecrating the ba'alat mum, you know you're not bringing the mum. Well, you bring the money. So he comes and he says, why do we just say ba'alat mum? He says, no, ba'alat mum lemay kadisha ledmeh. Demeh hainu ma'ot. The damim of the ba'alat mum is ma'ot. So there's no difference. It's the exact same thing. Fine. So Mativ Rava, so Rava comes and he's going to ask the following question. It says in the Torah to do with the korban chatat, it says korbano. What does it mean, korbano? Right? There, when it's talking about veviet korbano, seidizim zachar tamim. So this is about the chatat. The chatat has to come from, right? He comes and he says, so he comes and he says like this. What do we learn from the word korbano? So from here we learn korbano, hu yotze ve'en yotze bekorban aviv, which means he's only going to be yotze l'chuva with his own korban and not the korban of his father. Yachol lo yotze bekorbano shel aviv shifrish min hakala lechumura. I would have thought to say also that he's not going to be yotze l'chuva with the korban of his father that he separated for an avera kala to an avera chamura. So for example, what's an avera kala? Let's say, for example, right, he came and he ate chelev or dam, right? That means that even if he did it purposely, there's no mitat betin, there's only karet, right? Now the son comes and he wants to be mitkaber on avera chamura. What is chamura? Chilul Shabbat, avodah zarah, right? That they have skila if you did it b'mezid. It's much worse than karet, right? What's worse? Karet or sekila? Sekila, the arba mitot bedin are more powerful than karet, okay, which is like a mita min hashamayim. It's karet is a little bit worse than mita min hashamayim, but it's the same thing. At the end of the day, it's not bidei adam. Or min chamura la kala, or from something strict to something lenient, like we just mentioned. Strict was Shabbat and avodah zarah, and kala was the chelev and dam. Aval, that means like this. We understand that you cannot use on a different levels because it's not the same tier. It's not the same level. Right? One of them was a higher level, one of them is a lower level. It doesn't matter which one. Okay? But he comes and he says, you know what? But it does help that you could do it on the same level. Meaning, right? Let's say, for example, they're very similar. Right? They're both, for example, they're both averot kalot. One of them, the father, let's say, ate dam, and the son ate chelef, or vice versa. Or both chamurot. The father was Mechalel Shabbat, and the son did Avodah Zarah, or vice versa. Doesn't matter which one. They're both Kala in Kala, or Chamura in Chamura. So maybe I would think that you would be able to use it. Tamulomar Korbano, Korbano. What does that mean? It says to do the Chatat twice, Korbano. It says Korbano twice. What are we talking about? Korbano hu yotze. He's only going to be Yotzei Chuvah with his own Korban. But he's not going to be Yotzei Chuvah with the Korban of his father, even though it's the same level, the same tier. So I would have thought to say that you're not going to be tzedek chova with korban of the father, with an animal, because behold, a person is not going to be megaleach al behemat aviv b'nezirut. אבל יוצא במעות שהפריש אביו, אפילו מן החמורה לכלה, וכלה מן הכלה לחמורה, שהרי אדם מגלח חמות אביו בנזירות. But you would be able to use money that the father separated for his chatat, even from the chamura nakala or kala chamura. Why? Because a person could be megaleach al ma'ot aviv b'nezirut, meaning a person could come and he could use his father's money on the nezirut. That was what we just mentioned before, at the beginning. What?
Not for a chatas.
For for everything that he has.
He has to become a Nazir before his father died.
בזמן שהן, כ"ח עמוד א' 21, בזמן שהן סתומים ולא בזמן שהן מפורשים, when the money is going to be satum, and it's not going to be mefurashim, what is it not going to be explicit? That if you separated the money, right, and then he died, the son cannot bring his korbanot. Nevertheless, we do find that by ma'ot stumin of the nezirut, right, he could bring it. So Talmud Omar, you learn from here, korbano, the korbano hu yotze, the enu yotze be korban aviv. He could be yitzeh chova. He could only be yitzeh chova with his own korban, but not the korbanot of his father. So says the Gemara, yachol lo yitzeh b'ma'ot sheifrish afil min hakala lakala v'michamara chamura. So I would have thought to say that you cannot be yitzeh chova with the money of the father, only from the kala to the kala or chamura to the chamura, but you could be yotze with a korban sheifrish that's min hakala la chamura min chamura la kala. What about the same person? Forget about now the father, because beforehand we were talking about son and father. Now let's zoom in. Zoom in means don't go to the father. The same person himself. He's got an avera kala and avera chamura. Meaning he was oved something terrible. He was mechalel Shabbat or oved avodah zarah. And then he also did something much lighter. What did he do? He ate chelev, right? Or he drank blood, right? Whichever one it is. You understand? So now with the person himself, I would have thought that you are going to be yitzeh chova with a korban, right? Even though it's going to be on a kala to the chamura, chamura to the kala. Tamunomar korbano al chatato.
But you can give them.
What does that mean, korbano al chatato? It tells you that you're not going to be yitzeh chova korban chatat ad shieh korbano l'shum chet'o. Your korban has to be designated for that sin. That's what it has to be. And therefore, it's mashma from the lashon of the pasuk that you're only going to be able to bring a korban chatat for that sin. You're not going to be able to bring a korban chatat. You're not going to have a kapara if it was just for l'shem kapara, for an atonement. No. A chatat, a sin offering, it has to be explicit. Meaning, if I come and I say, you're bringing a chatat to the Bet HaMikdash, what are you bringing it for? I sinned. Yeah, but what did you do? No, I've done a lot of sins. Yeah, but what you have to tell me, well, you don't have to tell me, but I mean that you have to know which chatat you're doing. It has to be the shum chatat. You have to know it.
No, but you need to say it before.
What? He says like this, Yachol lo yetze b'behema sheifrish le'atzmo min hakala lakala or min hachamura lachamura. I would have thought to say that you're not going to come and you're not going to be able to be yitzeh chova with an animal which you separated for himself on one avera from a kala to the kala and chamura to chamura.
His father.
In a kala, no. This is all in himself.
His father set aside.
I don't know where you are with that. So therefore, I would have thought to say that on your own korban, right, on your own avera, we're talking about in your own things, that you are not going to be yitzeh chova from a kala to the kala or chamura to chamura, meaning it's a light to a light or a stringent to a stringent. Mina kala la chamura, mina chamura kala, right? Or from the light to the stringent or stringent to the light. Shekenim min frish be'ema al chelev vevi al adam, or al adam vevi al chelev share lo ma'al. Just like what we mentioned before, the case. You came and you did two averot. You ate chelev, which is the prohibited fats of an animal, and you drank blood. Now, both of them are kalot. Both of them are the light ones. Because remember, you said that even if you did it on purpose, there's no death penalty. It's only karet. So they're both light ones. Now, he says over here that if right now you came and you brought, right, on the one on the chelev to the dam, or the dam to the chelev, doesn't matter which one it was exactly, right? He comes and he says, lo ma'al. What does that mean? If you did it to b'shogeg, So you thought it was a mistake, and you came and you actually did that. So he comes and he says, "There's no milah." Why is there no milah? Remember, milah means you're not allowed to benefit from kodshim. That's called me'ilah. If you do benefit from kodshim, you have to pay back, plus you have to add a fifth. And you have to bring a korban milah. So he says, because there's no milah in being otzat ekdesh lechulin, or from changing from one to another. So it comes out the korban is omeh bechezkato, and it's going to be mechapel al avera rishona that you did do it. Velo chiper. And therefore, it's not going to be a kapara for the other one, right? So therefore, you came and you had in mind the dam. And really, it was going to be on the chelev. And the other way around. So he comes and he says, it's a kapara for the last one. You're not yitzei chuvah, the other one. Meaning you're only going to be yitzei chuvah, the original sin that you actually did, which was the chelev. You brought it now, and now you wanted it as the dam, right? I'm sorry, it doesn't help.
So what?
Because each one is a separate avera. And each, obviously, right? You had one chelev, one dam. So you have to bring two korbanot. I now brought the one of the chelev to the dam. He says it doesn't count. Why doesn't it count? Because you just had the chelev. It's a chelev. So therefore, you're not going to be to the dam. Means even though right now I switched it and I wanted to use it for the dam, for the blood, it doesn't work. It's only on the original one. And therefore, there's no mi'ilah. So he comes and he says, Aval. But when we're talking about money, right? And here to do with the money that you're going to bring, another chatat and all these things, whether it's going to be on the light, stringent to the stringent, stringent to the light, or light to the stringent. And now what's the difference? Now all of a sudden, why? What's the difference between money and an animal? Or the difference is going to be if you did two avirot. You did chelev, the primitive fats, and you did dam, you drank blood. You're obligated to korbanot. You have to bring two chatats. Okay, remember, chatat is only by accident. Because if you did it by purpose, so obviously there's no chatat. The chatat is a sin offering, is only if it's done bishogeg. Okay, so now what happens? You came and you brought the wrong one. Meaning you brought the one for the chatat to the one of the chatat of the chelev to the dam, or the dam to the chelev. Here, there is going to be me'ilah. Why is there going to be me'ilah if you did it b'shogeg? Because by the money of ekdesh ladiot, that you came and you did it for a kapara for another one, it comes out you're changing it from reshut of the ekdesh to the hediot, and therefore there is me'ilah, because now you're doing me'ilah that you're benefiting from kochim, the chiper, and you are going to have an atonement, meaning that you would have an atonement even though you brought the other for the other of the korban, right? So therefore, since you did it by accident, it is. So therefore, I would come and I would say that even the chatchila, you could actually come and do that. Which means, even though b'diavad there is a difference between money and the animals, that we just said that by an animal, if you came and you brought not the wrong animal, you brought the right animal, but for the wrong korban, meaning this was supposed to be for the chelev, and I went and I brought it for the dam. Right? Or the other way around, right? And you did that. So there, you're only for the one that you had originally, which was chelev for chelev, dam. Okay? And therefore, there's no mi'ilah there, right? To do with money, there is mi'ilah. Why is there for the mi'ilah by the money? Because there does exist such a concept that by the money, there's mi'ilah because there exists, that there's a changing involved. Meaning, if I took the money that I already had for the chelev and I used it for the dam, I'm going to say the dam. And if I took the dam and I used it for the chelev, I'm going to be tzedakah for the chelev. Because of that, I'm chayav mi'ilah. So now, lechatchila, you still can't do that.
So
why can't you do that lechatchila? You can't do that lechatchila because it says mefurash al chatato. The korban has to be for his chatat, l'shem chet'o. So I cannot come and do that lechatchila, obviously, but b'diavad, if I did do that, it's going to be okay. Okay, so that's what we're saying until here. Comes and he says now, Tani miyad, we did learn though, behema, my lover, we're not talking about afilu ba'alat mum. Says the Gemara, no, we're talking about tamima, aval ba'alat mumai, but what happens by a ba'alat mum? Stuma damya. It's like stuma. What does that mean? It's like mount stumin, right? That basically what's happening is that the ben is going to be megaleach al behema ba'alat mum, right? That he's separated. So my area, what are we talking about now? So what are we talking about now? Money that the father separated. Why don't we just teach Ba'alat Mum? At the end of the day, the ben is going to be Megaleach, even on Ba'alat Mum. Not only just on the money of the father. So says the Gemara, Achiram, you're right. Dilamai Chazia, what is a Ba'alat Mum fitting for? Money. Money is money. So therefore it's exactly the same. Meaning balat mum means right money.